Man, man, my
Yeah,
brother, let me tell you something, man. Dude, I've been wanting to get you on this platform the last 2 years, man. I tell
really.
you, yeah, because there was a certain publicist, don't want to mention her name, but I got led on to it, so she's supposed to be in the industry. So I say, I'm gonna let God, uh, work on that. Then thank God it did 2 years later, you know what I'm saying? But I just want to give you flowers, man, because you've been this business, man, since I was just a baby, man. I mean, in the early '80s. I mean, my brother, man, dude, my parents, man, made love to your music. That's how I came out.
Yeah, yeah. Not the first time I heard that.
Oh wow, yeah, man. Because dude, I tell you, man, like your music, dude, like growing up here in Louisville, Kentucky, it's like you could not go nowhere without hearing "Show Me," "Stay," "Here I Go Again." I've been searching stuff like that, man. I mean,
Thanks.
dude, it's unbelievable, man. So I want to give you your flowers, man, because you definitely made your mark in this business, for
Thank you.
sure. But
Thank
I
you.
want to, take it all the way back. Now, correct me on this. You was born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, what was your life like growing up as a child?
Um, Jacksonville was, you know, rather laid back kind of place. And I was born into a large family, nine of us, and we were, really devoted to the church. My mother, she was a missionary and an evangelist. And I spent most of my time in church. I had a good life, man. I can't complain. A lot of what we went through, at that time I couldn't appreciate it because, it's like I'm always in church. I'm always in church. But I think that got to be a good thing because that shaped my character. So I'm appreciative for that.
Yeah. I mean, especially, you can only imagine your life could have went in the wrong direction. Could have robbed somebody, did
Yeah,
anything, joined a gang
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
Uh, Now, was you like performing at like local gigs, like during gospel, before you decided to want to do R&B?
I was in the church singing, man. I mean, that's all I knew. I was in the church choir. I was a soloist in the church. I traveled with my church. I went to conventions with my church, you know, and that's how I got my start. But then eventually there was a group from Jacksonville called the Bivin Specials, who
Right.
they were it was a mixed group of male, female singers and musicians. And they came to my church one Sunday and I opened up the program. They heard me sing. And then they started to pursue my mother and my father to ask them if I could sing with the group. And eventually I did. And that opened up the doors for me to travel all over the country. I was from Florida to California, man, opening shows for people like Shirley Caesar and the Mighty Clouds of Joy, Dixie Hummingbirds, all of that. So that's how I got my appetite, for singing and recording and touring.
Yeah. Now, like I know, like a lot of times, come from a gospel background, especially from church. Parents always say like, don't be singing that type of, music. Did your parents give you a hard time? I did like, you know what? Just like let him sing it because this might be his calling.
Well, a lot of people that was connected with our church, they had their own opinion. But my mother, she always encouraged me, and the thing that she would say is that, my son sings love songs. He sings about love, you know. And I knew that they were giving her a hard time at different points, but she wanted to see me uh, be able to become the singer and the musician and the songwriter that I became.
Well, now, when you was working on, say your deal, did you already have songs written, before you got signed? And did like did a label let you write? Because I know a lot of times some labels be like, well, wait till you get to your 34th album, then you go ahead and write songs, or they allow you to have much freedom.
Yeah, it was kind of like the same thing. I mean, like the first record deal that I got was a gospel deal. and I recorded 2 albums for a label called Savoy Records,
Oh,
which at the time, this guy named James Cleveland, who was a major superstar gospel artist, he uh, he found me and he took me into the studio and produced my first gospel album. Matter of fact, I recorded the album in Ray Charles' studio,
wow.
you know, RPM out in Cali, and he produced that. I had already written songs. I started writing when I was like 14, 15 years old. And I wrote some songs and we recorded those songs. And then I came back after that, did a second project, and I wrote all of those songs. And, after I completed the second album, people started checking out the kind of music I was doing because it was contemporary. It was gospel, but it was contemporary gospel. And then this cat named Norman Collins, who was a jazz musician, he got wind of it. He heard some of my gospel stuff, and he wanted to meet me. And I met him in Washington D.C. at my manager's house at the time. Her name was Louise West. She's an entertainment lawyer. And Norman loved what I had done, and he asked me would I be interested in recording an R&B song with him. So he flew me out to California, and I did this song called Melancholy Fire, which was the second single from his album, an album entitled Take It to the Limit. And when the single came out, it started making some noise. People started paying attention, and I was on tour with Norman, because Norman was working with Phyllis Hyman and a lot of other artists. And I got a, I got a, I got an offer from RCA to do a project. So they gave me money to go in the studio and do like 4 demos, 4 songs. And matter of fact, all of the cast that worked with in Tulane, they worked with me on that project. Even Hubert Eves from D Train, he worked with me on those demos. And then the next thing I know, I had a record deal with RCA.
Wow. Your debut album, Everybody Loves a Winner. Did you come with the title, or did somebody suggest you like to come up with something that's inspiration?
Well, that was the general consensus. I mean, we would all sit around and talk about the project and what kind of uh, record it was and what was the statement that I was trying to say, and came up with Everybody Loves a Winner. Because even at that time, I was still trying to do inspirational
Yeah,
kind of music. Like on that record, I did a song called "I Am Somebody,"
yeah,
which included a excerpt of Reverend Jesse Jackson with his famous chant, "I am somebody,"
yeah,
Uh, he was connected with Operation Push at the time, so we donated some of the money, some of the proceeds from that project to Operation Push. And, the record was actually what they call an EP. It consisted of 5 songs. It wasn't a complete album. So then I came back with the second album, an album called Finesse, which had Show Me, which was turned out to be the biggest record I had up until that point. You know.
yeah, yeah. Like how did your mother feel? Just to see, her son, see, your face on the album cover, your first record. How did that feel? For you to be like, hey, mom, hey, I made it.
Yeah, she was excited. She always tried to tell me don't forget where you come from. Just try to surround yourself with good people. And she was just always very positive.
Yeah. Like your second album, Finesse, and the first record, saying Show Me, man, I tell you, man, that song became a monster of its own. How did that joint came about?
A friend of mine wrote that song, a young lady named LaForest Cope. We called her Lala, but
Right.
Lala lived right around the corner from me in Queens. When I first moved from Jacksonville to New York, I found a place in Queens, and she lived in the neighborhood. And I went around to get with her. because I knew she was a good songwriter. And first she played "You Give Good Love," the song that Whitney Houston did. And I'm all geeked up because I'm thinking that's the song she's giving me.
Yeah.
She's like, "No, no, you can't have that one." She said, "That song is for this new girl, Whitney Houston,
Wow.
who's signed to Clive Davis." So I said, "Oh, okay, all right." And she said, "I got something else for you." And then she played "Show Me." That was that. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because I always wondered, with songs that they give to you as like a demo when you first hear it
Yeah.
and stuff, and it's up to you if you want to take it or not. So your reaction, you just like, hey man, like let's record this and stuff.
I love it. And you have to, be able to imagine and see yourself and hear yourself and know what you can do for a piece of music. So when I heard "Show Me," I'm like, I can kill this, so give it to me.
Then for it to go number three on the hot R&B charts and to stay on there for like 23 weeks, what that did for you, to have a song just break through and climb the top 10 to be up there with Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, and Diana Ross and others. I mean, what was your mind go through as a young man then?
It was it was so exciting, man. I'm like, okay, this is only just the beginning. And
Yeah,
I uh, I was thrown because I had always done gospel, and the thing about doing gospel, which that's my root. I love gospel. Right now I love gospel, but back in those days they didn't spend a lot of money on the production.
yeah,
It wasn't well produced. And I always wanted to get my production, my songs, my music on a massive scale.
right,
So when I made the transition to R&B, it allowed me to do quality records. I used to do my gospel records, man. I'd do a whole album in maybe 2 days, just
wow,
coming through it, because they didn't want to spend the money. But when I got a chance to get full production and, get to see and to hear, orchestras and string players and
right,
horns and all of that, that was the most exciting thing to me. It wasn't even about the money.
yeah,
It's like I'm hearing my music the way I want to hear it.
yeah. Yeah. And you know how it is, like whenever you have a song that climbs up, like okay, since that did well, they try to hit with like another joint, and the second single, "Bring Back Your Love."
Yeah.
Now, correct me on this, was that supposed to be chosen as the second single, or did you have some of the song in mind?
No, that was the second single, and I was at RCA and, you know, one of the big problems is that sometimes record labels have, people sitting in certain jobs and positions that they don't really know how to market a record. They don't know how to market or brand an artist, and back then, RCA, with the R&B stuff, they were hit and miss. They had like Paul and Oates and the Pointer Sisters, and they had a distribution deal that they used to distribute records on other artists. Even Gap Band, I think Total Experience was distributed through RCA at the time.
Yeah,
But they were they were they were cool. They were kind to me, man. They took care of me. Made sure they gave me good advances, the money and all of that. But they were missing on the
yeah,
records. They weren't bringing them home like they should have been.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy, when you have you know, not to come off racist, especially got a white person that signs black artists. They easy to do that. You know how to know how to market a black artist. And my
No,
thing is like this, just hire some black promoters. You know what I'm saying? For the labels. That's one of the
well,
reasons why
see,
R&B like what it used to be.
well, the thing is that they had black radio and marketing people, you know, that they demanded that they go out and cross over the Hall and Oates records because Hall and Oates did the kind of music that it was crossover music, R&B and pop. So uh, they demanded that the black music department
Yeah.
work Hall and Oates on the black radio side. But if I had a record that had that kind of potential to cross over and be a pop record, there was no support there for that.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
Uh, Now, 1985, you did a song with Dionne Warwick, and it's called,
yeah.
yeah, Fighters of Love, Lost. I mean, yeah, Lust,
It's a
Love,
lost love.
Love,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
How did that situation came about?
Um, Dion had recorded the song before, and the first time she recorded it with Luther Vandross.
Okay,
And actually, Burt Bacharach was the producer, the songwriter. He was a songwriter, co-songwriter with his wife, Carabea Seger. And, that was the first time that Dion had worked with Burt in 11 years, I think. And they wanted to give the song another shot. Plus, they wanted to place the song as a theme song for this television show, which was on the ABC channel. So they wanted the song sung in a different key. They wanted it sung in a higher key.
wow,
And they had heard "Show Me," so they said, "Yeah, that dude can do it." So they called me and asked me to do it. Man, I was blown away. I mean, I grew up, seeing Dionne Warwick on the Tonight Show and all these other great shows, and Burt Bacharach, all these big pop records and everything. And when they called me to do it, man, I was excited, and I had a ball doing it.
wow. And that's amazing too, though, because it's one thing you do a song with somebody, been around at the same time as you did, but somebody that's an icon,
Yeah,
especially, here she was like hot in the game at that time anyway and
yeah,
stuff. So, that's
yeah.
perfect timing.
Mm.
In 1986, you put out, Take It From Me. So what was your whole direction going in with this album?
Well, we were trying to do something a little different. Like I was working with my friend Lala, same young lady that wrote "Show Me," and we wanted to kind of stretch out and do some different kind of things. And you know, "Take It From Me" was the theme track, was the title track. I played some guitar on that record.
Okay.
Played the guitar on that track, and I worked mostly with Lala, I believe, on that album. And then I tried, working with a few other, songwriters. I mean, my thing was, you know, to me, it's not always about working with the biggest names, the hottest
Yeah.
names, because sometimes you can get secondhand music from them. They might have been hired
You
to
lying about that.
produce somebody else. And since that song didn't make it on that project, it's like, okay, I got Glenn Jones. Maybe I'll throw this on there. You know what I'm saying? So I worked with a lot of young, unknown producers a lot of times, to give them a shot and just to try to get to some new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too though, because there be some songs I hear for a well-known producer, not mention no names, I'll be like, man, y'all gave them this? And their voice is like through here, like, come on. I'll be like,
Yeah,
there's a reason behind all that, and plus people pick and choose who they want to actually work with.
right.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
that's sad. The first single, Give Myself to You, and then the second single, Follow Up Stay. That was featured on the 1986 film Young Blood.
yeah.
For those two records. Cause I look at the artwork, of course back then like you had like the fro, and the second you had like the box cut.
Come
And
on.
at that time, yeah, and at that time, the styles were changing.
Yeah,
And it wasn't cool to have a curl, like, hey bro, you gotta
nah.
switch it up. So
But people always say that, but I be like, look, Luther had a curl.
yeah.
Michael Jackson had a curl. Ready for the World had a
Oh
curl.
man.
Everybody had a curl, but they can never remember anybody but me. I'm like, okay, man, whatever.
It's weird though because we think of Glenn Jones, they think about the box flat top cut.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
don't think about the Glenn Jones when he first got started. It's weird, but that's
yeah,
like a disconnect
yeah, yeah,
going on between.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, man, back in those days, you were working with A&R people and marketing people, and everybody was coming at you, giving you their opinion and what they thought it should be, and let's try this stylist, let's try this photographer, just trying, man, just trial and error kind of thing,
Yeah. In 1987, your self-titled album, Glenn Jones, did you decide to call it that way, or did your label, say, you know what, just go with that?
I think we all agreed on the same thing, and that was the record that we came up with. We've only just begun, and I had a little short throat. I had a little cut down short throat,
Yeah,
and that was a great album, man. I think that was another case of a record that could have, you know, been even bigger. It could have been super huge. We've only just begun, should have crossed over. It should have been a pop record. I truly believe that, but they didn't put the marketing plan together and they didn't go after that. So I had another song on that same album called At Last. That would have been the perfect follow-up song
wow.
because it was written and produced by the same two people, me and Timmy Allen, the same guy that, co-wrote We've Only Just Begun. He co-wrote At Last and he produced both songs. And it had the same very similar sound. We were using that 808 sound, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it would have been perfect, but they said that they didn't they couldn't hear that. They said to them it was just a groove. But I'm saying that's what music is, a groove, right?
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let me drop it as a second single, but the record just kind of, jumped out and they were playing it in New York on Kiss FM and BLS. It was like number one, man. It was killing it. Just Chicago, Atlanta. They were killing the song.
Yeah, that was a hot video, man, because, I like the whole thing where, you walk in, you don't say like you was rehearsing for your performance. Then you had like the three dancers on the side. Then you had like the young lady. She was interested in you,
Yeah,
but didn't realize you actually had a woman all that time and
yeah.
stuff. So what was it like? Now, correct me on this. Was that your very first music video?
Well, no, Bring Back Your Love was my first video. I shot Bring Back Your Love video in Boston.
Oh, okay.
And it was really weird because we shot it in a hotel. And it was one of those old established hotels. And I don't think they appreciated us being in there, you know,
Yeah,
doing
especially in
R&B.
Boston.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was weird, man. But we shot it in Boston, and We've Only Just Begun video. We shot that in New York.
New York. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I tell you, man, that song, dude. I mean, that song ran, man, for some years, man. And then back in those days, when you have a black network like a BET, they're gonna run it, man, until you have the next album, man. That's what I like
Yeah,
about that,
yeah,
especially that market promotion. And like you said, that song could have been number one pop record because I hate to have those days when executives call themselves have the ear for music. They really don't. It's like they'll
yeah,
put money behind to the black radio, but when it
yeah.
comes to like the pop radio and stuff, they don't want to do that. And I thought to
You know?
myself, they don't realize like you guys actually failed yourself besides failing the arts because you guys could have made a lot of money
Yeah,
off that record and what could have been, and stuff.
yeah. Well, even as a songwriter, when they used to cut co-publishing deals with artists, who were songwriters, they never gave the black artists as much money as they gave the white songwriters. They never did.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah, you right about that, and because I remember when I interviewed Atlantic Star, they said the same thing you said. Like they put money on the very first single, soon as that
Yeah,
song had its run, they're
yeah.
like, what, forget about the seconds. They just move on, treat you like a side chick, whenever they need you.
Man, I love Atlantic Star, man. I think sometimes people forget just how many smash records they
Ah,
have. I mean, I did a show with them last year down in Florida, and I stood on the side because I know Wayne and all of them. And
yeah.
man, it was that hit after hit after hit after hit. I'm like, what a hell of a catalog,
Now,
man.
like from there, especially when you have a hit record, and here come another album. Then the next album you put out, sometime in 1990 called "All for You." So, what was your point in that direction for that album?
Well, all for you. The title single was again co-written and produced by a guy named Timmy Allen, the same guy that co-wrote We've Only Just Begun, the same guy that co-wrote At Last. When I first went to Jive Records, he produced most of my stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, and it was uh, it, it was an album that they wanted me to stretch out and do more crossover stuff, and I did that.
yeah,
You know, I got a song on there called Endlessly that is dope, man. It's killer. Uh, you know, quite a few of the songs on there were just amazing. But the funny thing is that years later, decades later, that song "All for You" is fire over in South Africa, man.
wow,
I can't go over there, man, and go nowhere without them not knowing it and singing it. You know, I played there a couple of nights, you know, 8,000 people in the stadium, you know, per night. And that's their national anthem, man. All for You. And I have another song called All I Need to Know. And that was, you talking about over 30 years. But right now,
wow.
they love that song like it's a brand new single.
It's crazy, man, because if artists would know about independent and we would have social media back then where you could just say, hey, y'all, check out the single,
Yeah.
man, a lot of money would have been made
Yeah,
back then,
yeah, yeah.
of
A
course.
lot of money would have been made, man.
You
You
know,
know.
it's sad that, artists like, yourself being treated, half-assed,
Yeah.
where like, okay, let's put this out, but nah, this right here, man, they're not going to feel that. But I think like it's how the fans love it. I'm getting our
Right.
response. So what's the
Yeah.
problem? You know?
Well, I mean, all the other stuff that we put out were songs and was music that I wrote or co-wrote. I performed, so they were digging the other thing that I did. So why not go with what I'm still feeling? You know, but they didn't do that.
Yeah. Now the single "Stay," uh, I didn't realize, man, that song was covered, by a group out in London, called
Yeah.
Eternal. So
Right.
how, so like, where that situation became about, where they want to cover your record?
Hey, it was cool, man. I mean, you know, like I had did the record. I did it with a guy named Mark Stevens, who's Shaka Khan's brother, and
Oh,
he co-wrote it with a guy named Bobby Kazuri, and we cut it in New York, and we shot the video, and you know, Stay went number 5, top 5
yeah,
on Billboard. So it did well, and plus it was a different approach for me because people were always used to hearing me sing ballads, you know. But Stay was a record that they could dance off of, man. And uh, somebody told me once, I don't know how true it is, they said that Eddie Levert, when he first heard it Stay, he said, I don't know, that kind of don't sound like Glenn. That don't sound like a record that he, you know, would do, should be doing. But then eventually he said, now I understand it, you know,
yeah,
because it was a substantial record. And Eternal, they got, you know, grab a hold to it and they did it. So yeah, that's sometimes people forget about that record, that it was a top 5 record.
yeah, absolutely and stuff, And when I heard it, I was like, wow, I mean, that's a classic. It's funny how the industry, man, there's always a disconnect. People don't know the information of where the song came from, the song was covered and stuff. And then it's funny how like 30 years later, people just now discovering that. But back in those days, we didn't have social media. We had BT, MTV, VH, when it was actually playing videos. They don't talk about. And you got
Right.
all these hosts that don't say nothing about that, man. And they play the same song from the original artist, besides when we did cover.
Well, you know, back in those days, it was more music, less talk. You know, a lot of times they would play records and you would never know, you know, who the artist was until they came back later on and said whatever, you know, about the record, you know.
Yeah. Now, in 1982, you put out the self-titled album, Here I Go Again, with the lead single, Here I Go Again. Your first number one Billboard hit. Man, what was going through your mind, man, you finally got that number one spot?
Man, I was so happy, man. I remember being in the studio with my production partner, a guy named Ray Watkins. and the record was coming out so great, man, and it almost didn't make the album.
Right.
That was the last song I presented. I presented that song um, to Sylvia Rome, and
Okay.
and she was like, yeah, she was like, what, because I was on Atlantic Records at the time, and she was like, what were you waiting on? What were you thinking about? But we knew that that record was going to be a great record, man. We even while we were finishing up the mixing and recording, Ray and I, man, we stood in the hallway outside the studio and we prayed and we were like brought to tears because we were just thankful. It was I don't know, man. It was something.
Yeah. I tell you, man, it's like the video was dope, saying black and white. Did you come with a concept or they had an idea for you for the video?
Well, a lot of times they would have different, video companies that would submit a storyboard, submit, their vision of what the record, what the video could be. And somebody else came up with that concept, and it was fine, man. I mean, the song was such a great song. I remember Will Downing telling me how much he loved that song.
Wow.
It's like, wow, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, man, because hearing the record, through like the MP3, man, I was like, dude, man, I was like, Glenn put his whole foot in that, from the beginning to the bridge, and then like towards the end of it. And then I tell you, man, like that, it's like every song you sing, like a bridge part, it's like you take it to church, even though it's an R&B record. But when you feel that spirit, man, it's like a whole different level, man. Now, when you write songs like that, it's one thing you write it, the verses. Do you kind of like freestyle it as far as like ad lib, in your records?
Well, I established the verses and the hook, but then I come back and do my ad libs. I kind of want to explain exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying, why I feel that way, what made me come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of freestyle, man. I just let it go. I mean, there's been so many great singers that, have kind of taken it into that realm, that gospel realm. When you think about all the stuff that Ray Charles did, when you think about Aretha Franklin, when you think about Whitney Houston, you just being yourself. And I remember when I did Show Me, and she, uh, his production company was a part of producing my record because he had Lala, he had Wayne Brathwaite, and he had another cat that was signed to his company, and they were working on the record. So he came to the studio one day and he told me, he said, "You sound too much like you singing gospel." I'm like, man, have you ever heard Ray Charles? Come on, dude.
Exactly. I mean, that's common sense, man.
Yeah,
That's retarded.
yeah,
So, the follow-up single I've been searching, which is your longest runner on a Billboard chart, was number 8. It stayed on charts for 30 consecutive weeks, man. That's
yeah,
like what, like a daggone 2 years, you could say 2 years of some change.
yeah.
You know, I'm gonna ask you something too. Was there a video for it, or the label decided just
No,
make it a radio promo?
I begged him to do a video because I knew that would push it over the top.
Yeah.
If you was to do a video on, I've been searching.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I remember watching the 1982 performance you did on Showtime Paulo, man. The crowd just
Yeah,
went like bananas. As
yeah,
soon as you said anything, I see the look on your face. It's like, oh yeah, they know it's time, stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah. I remember looking at an Instagram post from Snoop Dogg that day. He said straight vocal, no auto tune. He was talking about when I performed on the Showtime at the
yeah,
Apollos. In other words, dude doing it the old school way. He bringing it. And I appreciated that.
yeah, because Showtime Paulo, man, you gotta bring it, man. You just can't come in there acting like you doing something, man. They'll treat you like an amateur, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
Yeah,
and they'll pull
yeah,
you right
yeah,
out the way and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and around that time, 2 years later, you drop "Here I Am," and I want to ask you this: the song "Here I Am" that you performed on Soul Train when the album first got started,
Yeah,
Round Around" was the first single. I was "Here I
right.
Am" the second single, kind of like the same situation you went through the previous albums.
Yeah, well, here I am. Uh, I we wanted to, take the tempo up,
Yeah.
because Round and Round was very laid back and sexy, you know. And Round and Round is a great record, Right now, even when I go over to the UK, man, they go nuts over that song. But Here I Am was a just a change of pace, and I still play that song right now in my show. I love that song. But I even had on the same album with Here I Go Again, I had a record called Good Thing on that project.
Yeah.
And actually Jay-Z is rapping on that record because they did a remix. Clark Kent did a remix of Good
Okay.
Thing. And Jay-Z, I think I was one of the first R&B cats that Jay-Z was ever on his record.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that too, because you might be the first one. Because a lot of times when they say what did Jay Z do the first, they talk about like the hip hop, the jazzo, and then this other rap group. You might be the first one. Who knows?
Yeah,
If it is, hey, my brother, like you part of his early beginnings of his career. So
yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah, that's incredible. Around this time, did you start getting kind of frustrated with labels? Going to one situation to another, they promise you, oh, we're gonna do this for you. Then, as soon as you get to that situation, like, come on, man, like, they, we got the best records. I feel like my music get treated like a stepchild.
I was very I was very disappointed, disillusioned, whatever you want to call it. But this is around the time when hip hop was ushered in, so it's a thing of trying to compete with that, and I'm doing R&B. I'm doing stuff that, some people would think is too musical, too adult. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And then, I wasn't trying to, a lot of times when you work with these labels, they'll tell you, well, I want you to do a record like this person. Give us a record like Jodeci, or give us this. No, I ain't doing that. That ain't me. And don't get me wrong. I love Jodeci. I
yeah,
love Sad them, man. And they are fans of mine, man. But that wasn't for me. So things started to get a little strange, and I was very frustrated, man. But I never thought about not doing music. I just kept doing what I was doing, whether I was traveling abroad, you know. And I said, well, look, when I do get a chance to do a record, I'm gonna do the best record I can do. That's all I can say. I don't care, 10 people buy a copy of it. I'm gonna represent the best of me. I'm gonna do a good record.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's funny too though because Atlanta Records they was going through a lot of changes. Here it is like you moved on.
Yeah,
Uh, Who got dropped. And I think it was like the end of Levert, Mickey Howard. It's like they were losing everybody, man.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
like a job. Now around this time, you had a Greatest Hits album, that came out. Then the year after, what the same year you put out the album called "It's Time." So what was your mind at that time? Go through that.
Well, It's Time was the first independent record that I did. At the time, I had a manager named Steve Russo, and Steve
Okay.
was a huge fan. Matter of fact, I met Steve Russo when I went to a meeting at Atlantic Records because he was representing this guy named Ross Finelli. Ross Finelli is the guy that wrote I Just Want to Stop for his brother Gino Vanetta,
Right.
which, that was a huge record back in the 70s. And Ross wanted to work with me. He said that his father had heard, some of my music, and before he passed away, he said, I think you should work with this kid. So we set up the meeting, and everything was cool, the A&R. And then they came back and said, well, no, it's not going to work out. So this is your last record. So they let me go.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Man.
after that, Steve was hyped up. Steve was like, man, look, we're going to find a way to do this record. And he found the money, found the funding, went out to California. Matter of fact, I was on the road doing a play. So Ross was following me all over the country, Chicago, wherever, he was following me. And I was recording in the daytime and doing the play at night. And we finally got the record finished. And for a small independent label with no money, I mean, we moved about 250,000 units,
Oh, it's not
which
bad, is it?
yeah, was impressive to the distribution company. They loved it. So I think that record did a lot for me. Because I had a single on there called "Baby Come Home." Man, that record was so hot down in the South. It was fire, bro. All these blues and Southern soul artists was, coming at me wanting to do shows and work with me and everything. And I think it was a lifeline for my career. It sustained me to go to the next point, you know. And it helped me stay in the game.
Yeah. Especially staying motivated and people want to still see you win and stuff. And
Yeah,
it is weird how somebody said, "Whatever happened to this artist? I'm still around." Like, do you be checking out concerts? I'm still
yeah,
performing. So and it's crazy, how the artist could get, as far as who they are, their character get misled for the wrong reasons.
yeah,
And you never put it away. You still be around the surface and stuff. 2002, you put out "Feels Good," and then
yeah.
the second one after that was called "Forever," a timeless R&B classic. So,
Yeah.
what made you want to go back in time and put all the records out?
Well, the company, uh, they, they were doing like all of these remake albums, and they approached me and uh, Shawnee is the name of the record label, and they approached me and told me I could do any 10 favorite R&B songs.
Wow.
And I worked with this guy named Chris Davis. We call him Big Dog. Amazing musician and producer. And even when that album came, because see, Shawnee didn't spend money to promote
Wow.
records and stuff. When I got there, different artists that I knew that was on the label, they like, man, look, they don't spend no money to promote you. Matter of fact, they were surprised that they even gave me a budget that I can hire Will Downing to shoot my album cover. They couldn't believe that, you know. But it's like, they ain't gonna spend no money, man. But even so, when I went to a lot of those radio stations, and this is younger people that work for the station, they were tripping, man, talking about how amazing that album was. It's a great album. It really is. One of the best records I've ever done. You know, I did songs, remake of like Tony Braxton's "Another Sad Love Song," you know, and I sung that joint in the same key he sung it.
Wow. And that's
Yeah,
hard to do, man. Just trying to cover somebody who ever did something, man.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
yeah. It is crazy, but the album managed to be in the top 40, in the album R&B Billboard chart. So, hey, at least they caught, like that karma, you could say, and stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, as time went on, did you thought to yourself, say, you know what, I'm gonna still tour. I'm just gonna kick back of recording music. Like, every time I think I'm in a good situation, that's when they hit me to like the last minute. They just sided me because I got a name in this business. They don't want to help my career to go further with it, what it was before.
Well, I have had people tell me that the music, the records were too good. I mean, my friend Phil Perry and we used to have conversations about this. It's recorded too well. It's recorded too clean. It's not, it's not raw and noisy enough. It's a perfect record. So, they don't
Wow.
want to hear that, you know. So,
Yeah. Now, years later, 2018, you put out a song called "Love by Design," with the legendary Regina Belle. So, what inspired you to want to record music at that time? Or you already had some already, completed before that?
well, I was trying to stay relevant, and I thought, I had moved from Virginia to Atlanta, so my thought was that I was going to, recreate myself, rebrand myself, come out with something new, and a friend of mine wrote that song, James Day, and he sent it to me, and we talked about it being a duet, and he said, "Man, you think you can get Regina Belle to listen to this song?" I known Gina for a long time, and I sent it to her, and she loved it. And that's another example of a great record, man. That song is, yeah, that's a great record, man. I don't care what happens, how many units I move, I still, the thing is, for me, I don't, okay, satisfying the public is a big part of it. I want them to like what I do and appreciate what I do. But sometimes I sing for myself. If I record a record and it moves me,
Hmm.
then that's it. I love it. Regardless of what the other opinions are, you have to know what's good, man. You have to know when you've done a good job because there are times I've done stuff and people be tripping and going crazy, like, wow, man. I mean, I be, just half-ass, satisfied, as we say. But
Yeah.
that song was a great record.
Now, like in between, around that time you did TV One song. Did you feel like, what? Let me tell my story because I hate for leaving this earth. Somebody tell my story, and it be not what the truth was supposed to be. So, what kind of like did a producer reach out to you, or did how that situation came about?
Producer reached out to me, and she and I had conversations for about 2 weeks straight, and she got intrigued by my background, my upbringing, my church background, the fact that I was uh, a Seventh-day Adventist, like raised in the same doctrine of the Jewish church, go to church on Saturday, sundown Friday night is the beginning of the Sabbath. Sabbath doesn't end until sundown Saturday night, and no eating pork. I mean, your whole diet was restricted. All of that was interesting to her, and her boss was when intrigued by it.
Right.
And then when they got the music and heard, my chops and the way I sing and the way I approach music, he thought it was a great idea. So that's what we did.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember watching it, and I said, "Well, he had a health scare, during that time and stuff." Now, you was on the way on your way to do a show, or was it like before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You talking about the incident that I had?
Yeah.
Uh, well, eventually I found out that I was diabetic, you know.
Yeah.
So I was on my way actually to the studio, and I just left home. I was living in Virginia, and on my way to the studio, something happened, man. My car just seemed like it just shook every which way, and I couldn't gather my thoughts. I couldn't figure out where I was, you know. And I called my brother, my older brother. He lives in Virginia. He lived in Virginia way before I moved there. And I called him, and he told me, he said, "I'm in the shower." He said, "But just get off the highway. Get off the highway as soon as possible. You just wait there, and I'll come get you." And he, before he could come get me, I was at
Right.
his house, man. And that was uh, that was that was a real, frightening kind of thing, man. But I try to take care of myself, and you know, uh, my life is in God's hands.
Yeah. Amen to that, man. It's a blessing you still here, man. You know what I'm saying? still
Yeah.
performing, still telling a story, performing all the classic hits. Because I tell you, it's crazy. One time I made a post on Twitter. I said one thing, for artists that are black, they only put up with a sprinkle of people, but for the rest, they get you out the way. It don't matter how good music you is. It's
Yeah.
like you're only here for a limited time. And the sad part about it, they treat you like a young man sport. As soon as you get 35, that's when they get you out the way immediately.
Hey, but look, that's when you really season, man. You
Yeah.
really you really season. You made, you found your way. You come into your own. You discover who you are.
Yeah.
So when anybody calls me to do something, they calling me because they want me to do a Glenn Jones record. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they want Glenn Jones. I'm not trying to, because when you listen to music today, it's so cookie cutter type. It's
Yeah.
not, it's just not the same, man. And that's why the music that I love is from the 70s and the 80s and, even the 90s. Those are the, songs and artists that I listen to.
Yeah. And it is true though, because there's some artists out here, I might get an email, coming in, and some artists I see on in the internet, I'm like, okay, you sing a song, but there's no feeling in it. They just it's like they sing it like they rehearsing, and there's no
Yeah,
emotion in it, no substance. And it's
yeah,
crazy how, for some reason, people sign them in, they take it, like they act like they're supposed to be taking them seriously. You look at Atlantic Records, they got over like 100 some artists, and the artists they signed like over a decade had not been on no tours, had not performed on BET, MTV. They just recuperated to make themselves look good. And
well,
that's why I be independent.
yeah, well, because everything is about imagery now, and you can do so much with videos and just the technical portion of stuff. So back then, we had to just flat out work on a melody, and develop a great hook, a great bridge. We had to work on our intonation. We had to work on, just our vocal approach, you know, and we had to come into our own. But, by the time they throw a little something, something on your record and throw some auto tune on it and all of that, man, you know.
Absolutely, man. But before we wrap it up, if the 18-year-old Glenn Jones, was asking for your advice, what would you tell, what would you tell your younger self about far like in the business?
Uh, be careful about who you trust. Uh, be more, be more aggressive about, you know, the choices that you make. Stand by your choices. Sometimes, you know, when you're young, you're dealing with record labels. Sometimes you go along to get along. Sometimes you gotta be a rebel. Sometimes you gotta fight and kick against uh, things that you not feeling, things that you feel that you should trust yourself more. So I would probably do that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I hope one day, man, black music artists, man, award you because, I see they award so many legends that, BT Soul Train adore, but that's a lot of politics, when it comes to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Because my brother,
yeah.
I tell you, I mean, he got so many hits, man. I mean, and I hate this industry where they treat an artist like a one hit one. I'm like, did you actually listen to the catalog when all those songs was out on
Right.
TV, on radio, and everything and stuff,
Yeah,
man? So I hope that these award companies, man, do give you your just due.
yeah. Well, you know what, man? Until they do, I'm blessed with the fact that I still work. I still enjoy working. I still, get a chance to interact with my fans. I get a chance to hear the stories that they have about certain songs that I recorded and certain songs that I wrote. And the just the instant gratification that I get from them when I go out and perform, and they still be loving it. So I come off stage sometimes feel like King Kong. I still got it. That's my
Absolutely.
reward. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Now, correct me on this. Are you working on a new album? Or are you still haven't got to that process yet?
I have an entire album that I've already recorded. You know,
Okay.
like you mentioned, Love by Design, which was title track. We released that, and then I released another song from that called "You and Me," which is an old R&B Rocky Robbins song, and I featured uh, Nick Corleone on that record. Smooth jazz guitarist, tilted. He's passed on now, and I did a record with uh, my wife, Zenobia Jeter, did a single called Trust in Me. I wrote that and produced that. And then I did a record called Family Time, which is produced by Chucky Booker. I
Oh
did
wow.
that with my niece, Young Crawley, but there's still, the rest of that project left because, everybody's saying, man, all they're doing now is, dropping singles. Nobody's dropping, complete projects, just dropping singles. So I dropped those four singles from that album.
Yeah. Yeah. So now so with that being said, say, are you on the road right now, or are you kind of like taking a break a little bit?
Nah, man, well, I've been looking forward to taking a break because the summer has been brutal. I've been constantly going, constantly going. I'm on my way to, I'm going to be on the Power to Excel cruise next week
Oh,
coming up with the Isaac Brothers and a whole bunch of people, a lot of R&B, lots of hip hop people, Too Short, like Method Man, a whole bunch of folk that's on that. So I'll be doing that, and I'll come back and I got a gig in Jersey, and I got a gig in Chicago. Uh, it just goes on and on. But now we coming up to the winter, season. Uh, so things will be shutting down, for Christmas, and I get a chance to rest.
absolutely, man. So if you ever come to Louisville, Kentucky, man, in the future, man, I definitely will be there, man.
Hey, bro, I'm gonna remember that, and I'm gonna hit you up, man. I appreciate the love, that you're showing me today, and I
Yeah,
appreciate the fact that you have love and respect for the music that I've done in the past. I thank you for that.
absolutely, man. That's what it's about. Celebrating artists, full career, not just, a hit and miss. And I always feel like, when people say, whatever happened to this artist, just look at the history, look at the bios, look what they done. Say, I don't know where you at. I know where I was. I'm in my 40s. So
Hey,
I ain't
look,
been nowhere.
some people will say, what happened? Are you still singing? I say, you still working?
Exactly.
You still got a job?
Yeah.
I'm still singing.
I hate that, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think it plays with, I get it because networks, they more focus on reality shows and stuff you see on social media. It overshadows
Yeah,
what the people supposed to see. And stuff they
right.
see out there is a waste of time and stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
man,
thanks for being so informed and so knowledgeable about my history, man. Sometimes you do interviews with people and you usually end up leading them because they don't really know the information, but you did your homework and I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you, man. Just that some people got the idea they focus on that one song, and after that'd be it. You might
Yeah.
like, well, damn, why are we even here for? So
Right,
yeah,
right,
man,
right.
man. But all right, my brother, man, you have a blessed night, man.
All
Stay
right, brother,
safe.
you too,
All
man. God bless.
right, you got it.